Hey, how's it going? My name is Wes. Welcome back to another lesson. In today's lesson, we will go over the verb deber. So today we have another yellow verb lesson in which we'll learn the verb deber, which in Spanish actually has a couple of different meanings. It can either mean to owe, to must, or to should. So today's lesson, the verb deber, to owe, must, or should. Alright, now as always, before we start with the first conjugation, if you want to make a copy of this table to make your own notes, please do so. Please pause the video here and press resume once you're ready. Alright, so today's verb, the verb deber, which means to owe, must, or should. Let's start with the first conjugation, which is the I form. So I owe, I must, or I should in Spanish is yo debo.
Yo debo. Yo debo.
I owe, I must, or I should. So as always, let's look at some example sentences with these different conjugations as well. So if you want to say I should study Spanish, then in Spanish this is
Yo estudiar español. Yo estudiar español. Yo debo estudiar español. Yo debo estudiar español.
or it could also mean I must study Spanish. Yo debo estudiar español. Because we learned that deber means either to owe, to must, or to should. So in this example, we use should. So I should study Spanish. So yo debo either means I owe, I must, or I should. Alright, then the next conjugation is the tú form, which is tú debes. You owe, you must, or you should.
Tú debes. Tú debes.
So for example, if you want to say you must arrive on time, you must arrive on time, you would say tú llegar a tiempo. You must arrive on time, or you should arrive on time.
Tú llegar a tiempo. Tú llegar a tiempo. Tú debes llegar a tiempo. Tú debes llegar a tiempo.
You must arrive on time, or you should arrive on time. Alright, then the next conjugation of the verb deber is él, ella, or usted debe. He or she owes, must, or should, or you formal owe, must, or should.
Él debe. Ella debe. Usted debe. Él, ella, usted debe.
So for example, if you want to say he owes the bill, so also with owing something, we use this verb deber, then in Spanish this would be él la factura.
Él, la factura. Él, la factura. Él debe la factura. Él debe la factura.
And the word la factura means the bill, but more as in, for example, an energy bill, so an electricity bill. Because in Spanish we also have a different word for saying the bill, which was la cuenta. So for example, if you want to say she owes the bill, you could also say ella debe la cuenta. Ella debe la cuenta. She owes the bill.
Ella debe la cuenta. Ella debe la cuenta.
And the word la cuenta is more used as a bill in terms of a bill that you get at a restaurant, for example. So la factura or la cuenta. And then of course we also have usted. So usted debe la cuenta. You owe the bill. So the bill of the restaurant, la cuenta.
Usted debe la cuenta. Usted debe la cuenta.
So él, ella, usted debe. He, she owes, must, or should, or you owe, must, or should in a formal way. Alright, then the next conjugation is debemos. We owe, we must, or we should. Debemos.
Nosotros debemos. Nosotras debemos. Nosotros, nosotras debemos.
So if you want to say we should collaborate or we must collaborate.
Nosotros colaborar. Nosotros Colaborar. Nosotros debemos colaborar. Nosotros debemos colaborar.
We should collaborate. And of course, we also have the feminine version.
Nosotras debemos colaborar. Nosotras debemos colaborar.
Which also means we should collaborate. Alright, then we have you owe, you must or you should, which is used predominantly in Spain, which was vosotros or vosotras. Debéis.
Vosotros debéis. Vosotras debéis. Vosotros, vosotras debéis.
You owe, must or should. So for example, when you want to say you must help,
Vosotros, ayudar. Vosotros, ayudar. Vosotros debéis ayudar. Vosotros debéis ayudar.
you must help or you should help. It really depends on the context of the sentence and the way in which it's being said. So for example, when you want to say you should help and you're talking about a group of all feminine people, then you could say vosotros debéis ayudar. You must help, where we really show that we are giving orders to someone.
Vosotras debéis ayudar. Vosotras debéis ayudar.
Alright, then the last two conjugations. Let's start with ustedes. So ustedes becomes ustedes deben. Ustedes deben. You owe, you must, or you should.
Ustedes deben. Ustedes deben.
So for example, if you want to say you should stay,
Ustedes, quedarse. Ustedes, quedarse.
and quedarse comes from the verb quedar, which means to stay or to remain.
Ustedes deben quedarse. Ustedes deben quedarse.
You should stay or you must stay. Or if we use exclamation marks, as we saw in the previous example, we can show that we use it in more of a different way. So now we are saying you must stay instead of saying you should stay. So ustedes deben quedarse. You must stay. Again, it really depends on the context if the verb deber means to owe, to should, or to must.
Ustedes deben quedarse. Ustedes deben quedarse.
Alright, and then the last conjugation, which is the same as ustedes, which is ellos or ellas deben. Ellos deben, ellas deben. They owe, must, or should.
Ellos deben. Ellas deben. Ellos, ellas deben.
So for our example sentence, we have they owe me nothing, they owe me nothing. And here again, we see this no in combination with nada, which as we learned was a double negative, which in Spanish is a very common way of forming a negative sentence.
Ellos no me... nada. Ellos no me... nada.
So this obviously becomes ellos no me deben nada. They owe me nothing.
Ellos no me deben nada. Ellos no me deben nada.
Or in English, you'd probably say they don't owe me anything. They don't owe me anything. Or they owe me nothing. Ellos no me deben nada. Or of course, if we were talking about a group of all females, we say ellas. So ellas no me deben nada. They owe me nothing. Or they don't owe me anything. So ellos or ellas deben.
Ellas no me deben nada. Ellas no me deben nada.
Alright, so now we've learned all the different conjugations of the verb deber, to owe, must, or should. So just for the sake of practicing a little bit, let's go over all of them one by one again. And this time I really want you to repeat the words together with me. Alright, so.
Yo debo. Tú debes. Él, ella, usted debe. Nosotros, nosotras debemos. Vosotros, vosotras debéis. Ustedes deben. Ellos, ellas deben.
And then if we look at the regularity of this verb, we will actually see that the verb DEBER is a regular verb because it has the same stem across all of the conjugations. And of course, the ending depends on who it is that we are talking about. But the black part, so the first part of the verb, the stem remains the same. So the verb DEBER is a regular verb in Spanish. Alright, and then of course, before we end this lesson, I also provide you with some practice sentences for you to practice with the different conjugations to make sure that you understand them. So if you want to practice, make sure to pause the video here, and then in a couple seconds from now, I will show you the answers. Alright, and here are the answers. Alright, that's it for today's lesson in which we learned the verb DEBER to owe, must, or should. As always, I hope you found this helpful. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you learned something new. As always, you can also download the reference sheet of today's lesson. And for any more questions about today's lesson or any lesson in general, you can always go to my website, which is SpanishWithWes.com. Alright, that's it for this lesson. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, I hope to see you in the next lesson. Adios.